Welcome to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig Sullivan. And today, Captain Chris Baggett from Canyon Creek Lodging and Pirate Revenue is back. How are you, Chris?
I'm great, Craig. How are you?
Better than the best. I'm at the beach. Everything's good. How about you? How's the Lone Star State today?
Lone Star's great, and I'll be at a different beach tomorrow. So spending 4 or 5 days down in Galveston, Texas, of all places, taking my clan down there and escaping a little bit. So I'll do my best to emulate you at the beach. How's that?
There you go. I love it. Make sure you've got plenty of cold adult beverages for that afternoon slide and barbecue.
Do not ask me anything appropriate when I'm down in Galveston.
I love it. So, Chris, you're an industry leader. You've been helping our brethren across the country since the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic that we found ourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
What's new? What's happening? How are you helping? And let's hear some good, upbeat success stories from the past few months.
Sure. When you said that, my first thought was, what we don't know is what we don't know. We fell off a cliff, everybody, in March of 2020. And what do we do now? You know, it was lifeboat, and we played all that game. We've talked about that several times. And we start to exit this thing in, let's call it August or September of last year, and we start to feel some momentum, you know, even towards the end of fourth quarter of 2020. But as 2021 came around, we think, okay, everything's fine. We're all geared up and we're going in the right direction. And I'm not going to tell you anything right now that you don't already know, at least being in the industry. This whole ability to serve, this employment issue, this staffing debacle is just, I think it just caught everybody off guard. It seems to be almost as drastic as the pandemic itself, that we thought that we would just have this immediate comeback. Like, nobody stopped to say, wait a minute, everybody's getting all the stimulus money. They're not going to want to come back. I don't remember having that conversation with anybody. I saw a nice article from Steve Bann. I listened to Peter Ricci. They were all sort of predicting, and they were in touch with this, 2-3 months ago. But I don't know that any of us were really paying that much attention to it. And I think from the client side, that's been the most frustrating part. The beauty of it is that we're not, and I don't think anybody else is doing this differently, Craig. I think everybody's playing this game. Nobody's comparing performance to 2020 right now. We have to have some sort of litmus, right?
Right.
Everybody's taking their stuff and pointing it at 2019. Yeah. And at first, when you start to layer those numbers in, you get a little scared, like, oh my God, is it that bad? I mean, our markets, and I'm just knock on wood, we might be up $5, we might be up $20 in average rate. Ridiculous numbers. Yeah. And so we're doing, and the revenue's up or better in some of these hotels than it was, 2 years ago. By doing it with rate, less segmentation, which essentially is what we're talking about here. It's a less blend. It's a thinner blend of what's going on. We've got stronger hotels. How does that sound? I mean, and we go so far as to say, okay, listen, let's chase that. And we call it the 70, 100, 170 rule, where you want to run $100 at 70 rooms as opposed to as 100 rooms at $70, right? On a 100-room hotel being full. And so you're running more efficiently at $100 at $70 than you are at 70 rooms at $100, right? Or whatever. I'm sorry, my math is all messed up, but you get this. It's the same. It's the same revenue,
right?
It's flowing better, and that's what we're not even. That wasn't even the strategy. That's just what's happening. We're getting a better flow. Our assets are healthier, and thank goodness, because we don't have the staff to sort of do some of this work. So anyway, it's kind of a blessing, but we still want to get that back, and we'd like to. I think everybody wants to keep these $10, $15 ADR lifts over 2 years ago. That probably won't happen as the segmentation starts to come back in.
I don't know about that, my friend, because, I mean, unfortunately, in our industry, we have a habit of cutting off our nose in spite of our face. Somebody drops rate, then everybody follows.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, and I'm not going to pick on any brands or any operators, but that nonsense just has to end. Okay. If somebody drops, let them drop. Okay. Because one of two things are going to happen. Either their rates are going to come back up because it wasn't a strategic move,
Right.
or they're going to get really horrible reviews on Yelp and everything else, and you guys are still going to pick up the overflow and at your rate. Now, I've been adamantly opposed to resort fees and urban destination charges. You're simply just baking your rate and really upsetting the guest.
Sure.
Okay, there's
Yep.
and I get it. I know why. I think we all do, but that's just an obnoxious charge. I love to monetize every square inch, but there's a way of doing that where it doesn't adversely impact the guest. At the end of the day, whether it's your management, it's your team, lack of staff, too much rate baking, you've got to take a look at all that. And I think that's where you've had more of a realistic approach and gone, no, you know what? Yeah, naturally we're going to have a bump because of holidays and a few other things, and we can retain some of that, but without gouging.
Right.
I think we've got 2 years of pinned up demand that is, we're nowhere near the crest of this wave.
We're not.
Okay. So,
we're not.
And I think that there's a lot of different reasons for the employment problems. Stimulus was a part of it.
Sure.
I don't think it was the main indicator or the bad guy out of the whole thing. I think people just changed. They said, you know what? I don't need to do this anymore. I'm moving on to something else. And whether they became an entrepreneur or whether they changed careers completely. Plus, we've done a horrible job in the recent past on, recruiting and bringing people into our industry where they can start out as an hourly associate and over time build a career where they're running a company. And, we'll take you as an example. We'll take Tom Gachet at Davidson as an example. Chris Green over at Chesapeake is another example.
100%.
You guys are all leaders, and you've got it embedded in you, and you've remembered what it's like to be an hourly associate.
Sure.
And I think that gives you a leg up, and that's where your understanding comes in and why you're able to have an increase in rate and do better. What is employment like in the Lone Star State and some of your other states that you're in right now? Not to flog that horse any more than needed, but
so when we started to realize that, okay, the COVID confidence, the mandate lifts, let's just call it the culture of each state. State by state, they sort of touch each other. Texas, for example, touches New Mexico. Texas lifting, New Mexico still heavy. Let's just say shut down, that sort of thing. What did New Mexico, people that live there, what did they do? Well, they piled up in their cars and they drove to Texas and they camped out for the weekend because they could, right? But then you're looking at some of that data and you're seeing these weekends just explode. And it's like, well, what do you do to fix that? Well, you raise rate, you do this, you turn off you do all the routine things, but it catches you so off guard. It could be literally between a Wednesday and a Thursday that you have watched just sort of traditional, strategies or whatever, and your monitors have been healthy or whatever. But I mean, out of nowhere, you get punched in the mouth. And so what do you do about that? You have to be a little more in tune with the relationship with your feeder city. That's an old school term. Right. And even feeder today is different than it was 2 years ago. And I'm just back then, 2 years ago, your competition, what you think is your competitive market, your landscape, whether it's a star set, your Expedia price tool set or whatever, OTA Insights, pick something. Who are you competing with today? I promise you, it's probably not the same list that you had 2 years ago. And I'll go so far as to say it may not be the same group of hotels that you had 2 months ago. You got to be ready for the now. And even as we look at what's going on today, We think we have a decent handle by our experience and by our just our routines that we're good for graduation next year. Well, guess what? I don't care how smart you are, and I don't care what you're looking at. The market, the graduation folk that are around graduation, pick a market with a major graduation in it, college graduation city, Austin, Pittsburgh, I don't care. They're smarter than you because they're going to move faster than you. So, I mean, what do? Do you just simply protect every weekend in May? No, that's not the smart thing to do, but there's a solution out there somewhere. We're having to be, Craig, we have to be more attentive right now than we were 2 years ago. It speaks to everything you just said, which was, what's different? Why are we moving differently today? We're moving, the paradigm shift is on every level, whether it's supply channel, market, whatever. We can't take, in fact, I will tell you this, I can take all this experience, and I've been through Desert Storm, 9/11, the banking implosion, all these ups and downs, right? Whatever, there were some similarities, there were some consistencies that came back and routinely came back. Right. There's so much wiping today that I don't know how much my experience is that healthy for whatever but being aware of it, I know that I can use that and just be, you know what, let's just wipe it out, wipe the slate clean, and let's just start going again. Let's take it up and start going. So that's where we are right now.
I agree with you on that, and I think that's the prudent thing to do. And I think also adding to those dynamics are the brands. Okay,
absolutely, yeah.
You know, pips have been kind of semi on hold, but I think if you are a strong owner operator, you're moving forward with your pip because there's a good chance there's something new within that 5-mile radius of your property that's opening. And when I talk to the brand guys, they're all saying the same thing. It's we're looking about repositioning assets, and we're talking to people who come on board with us.
Sure.
What's your experience with the brands right now with pips and reflagging hotels?
It's probably it may not be the most discussed thing that we're talking about. We get so much in the weeds of just our day-to-day strategies and supporting our clients. But if we step back, the brands, by no fault of their own, had influences through this pandemic. They wanted not only to keep the hotels healthy, they wanted to keep their brands and their chains healthy. I have to be a little selfish because as an asset protector, if you will, my concern, my bias would be more to the asset itself. It speaks to the PIP that you just said. Right. What do I need to do to make sure that asset is healthy, that it survives? Is it my intent to destroy it, demolish it, and build something else because the pandemic was so tough and my deal structure was so bad? Can't speak to everything, but ultimately what we're talking about here is, do I have the right race car for the new racetrack? Does that make sense? Because I promise you, tomorrow, next day, next 2 years, and I'm not going to choose a brand, just pick something and just say to yourself, on this block, on this corner, is this the right thing to do? And I certainly don't want to get everybody scrambling to pull their P&Ls out and going through their business development. But at the end of the day, do you have the right race car? You know what I mean? I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about. And if you're thinking that way, everybody else is thinking that way, just like what you said. You want to have, the paradigms are everything's up in the air right now. Everything is shifted. Everything is different. We can't count on anything to be the same. I'll go off topic just for a second. The Sherwin-Williams store last weekend to buy some paint. Well, guess what? They're low on paint or almost out of paint too. Well, why? Well, because in Texas, this isn't pandemic related. This is that freeze related. It killed like 2 or 3 of their plants. This guy's talking 180,000 gallons of demand every day, and we can only produce 120. I'm like, well, what else? What isn't affected by pandemic or this freeze or everything else we're going through right now? This just seems to be the past 14, 16 months of just, gut check, right? Realization. We've got to come out of this. We will be better and stronger, but we have been so comfortable. We didn't realize it then, but we were also comfortable, Craig, through 19 that we had to be reminded that life is very delicate. And so is especially this industry, right? Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with you. looking back on 2019, and hindsight's always a wonderful thing. Okay.
I wish I had Emmett Brown's car. I'd just go back in time and make a bunch of money.
There you go. But if you look at it, our fundamentals were extremely strong. Okay.
Yep.
We were pretty close to the crest of that wave. The only thing that I think everybody was really concerned about was a flattening on RevPAR.
Yep.
And that was really about
Yep.
it. Okay. Lenders were still making loans.
Yep.
Sponsors were still strong. The brands, were humming along. Everything was good. We had, our tourism, both leisure and business and group, were all hitting on 8 cylinders. And you're right. All of a sudden, snap of a finger, everything changed. Yep. And it's going to be tough. I think right now, and, don't get me wrong, I think Chris is absolutely right. I think you've got to look at the race car and see which one is best for your asset. But that's no easy task either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, take your lender, for instance.
Sure.
Okay, they made you a loan based on that being brand A. And now you're going to B or D or someone else down the line. Okay, and in a practical application, your flag adds 25% of the value of the asset. So now you've got to deal with your lender. You've got to be upfront with them and go, hey, I'm going from A to B or A to C or whatever the scenario may be. They may put the brakes on. So, hopefully you haven't signed a franchise agreement, before you've talked to your lender. Okay. Now, and also if you're,
I was going to say, one of the things that you just said that made me think about it, about this, which is so we're talking, I think the guts of this conversation is how much has been uprooted and how blank the slate is right now, or the slate. That lender has influence and I'm thinking about talking to any banker or whatever and talking about deal structure. I want to do this and I want to put 2 point whatever in this and moving around. But they're going to go after they're going to pull up their book that's going to have a lot of legacy data in it or information, or they may have stayed at the Hampton Inn, 2 weeks ago. And I'm sorry to pull one brand out, but you know what I mean? It's just, if you have that influence, they're not seeing all of this. Not everyone is seeing all of this change as we see it, and convincing, teaching, and bringing that to the table, I think is probably harder than it sounds. To your point, I think that's probably an easier conversation here than it is to walk out and say, you know what, I'm going to flip and do this and this, and I'm going to go extended stay. I'm going to take my rooms, I'm going to convert them and add all this stuff to it and take advantage of that for the next 2 years. So I think that.
No, I agree with you. And I think that's it. And I think those are the conversations that you need to have, and not just simply, leap into something without taking your lenders and various other people. I mean, your insurance carriers, that list goes on and on. You need to talk to them. Okay?
Absolutely.
Putting a kitchenette into the room is going to change your pricing on insurance.
Right.
Come on. You're in a resort area. As well as I do. When people get off the plane, they grab their bags and they leave their common sense at the airport a lot.
Right. Where's my margarita? Where's my Right on.
Absolutely. Cool. So, Chris, we are almost out of time, but I did want to make mention that you will be at AHOACon.
I will.
So, Pirate Revenue will be there. So come by and see Captain Chris and the team there. And Chris will also be at CLIC 5 live and in person on October 5th. So, Chris, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I hope they come to AHOACon. I hope somebody's going to come by booth 404 and grab an eye patch from me and talk the next steps and the next waves, what we can do to help those owners and operators out there improve their service level. Revenue management is intimate. It is personal. It's like a barber. But we know that what we can deliver is strong, equal, or better to what's in-house, and certainly is equal and better as what anyone else can provide. So we think we've got a great product. We think we have a great service. We think we have a great message and pirate revenue, which just came out of nowhere. And you and I talked about, where did that come from? I mean, it was it was simply back against the wall. What do we do to survive? And it literally, Craig, is just part of our culture now. We live and walk and talk as if we're pirates, and we color outside the lines, and we do what needs to be done. So I am on LinkedIn, obviously. Our website is coming soon, but you can find me on CanyonCreekLodging.com and through our LinkedIn profile there. So yeah,
perfect.
Good stuff.
Thank you for rejoining the conversation, my friend. I cannot wait to see you, and hopefully we get to meet Mrs. Captain Pirate Revenue as well at AhoaCon, and we'll be seeing you there. And Glenn Hausman and I are bringing Friday Night Audit to AhoaCon. So we're doing a live show together in the same room with an audience. So we are really excited about that.
I'm excited for that too. I can't wait to spend some time with you guys. It's going to be a blast. And I can't thank you enough, Craig, for having us on, man. This has been our third meeting with you guys. So I really help you thanking us for thank you for spreading the word for us and helping us stay pertinent and stay in the message for everyone. Okay.
My pleasure, my friend. You are cut above, and I'm really proud of what you and your team are doing. Thank you. You are always welcome to rejoin the conversation anytime you want.
My pleasure. It is our honor, Craig. Honestly.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our production partners, our friends over at Red Roof Franchising, and our friends over at Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group. You should call them, tell them that producer Danny and I sent you, and have a conversation with them. They've got great people, and they're able to help you at both of those organizations. Also, besides thanking Chris for being here and rejoining the conversation, I want to thank you, our audience, for always tuning in and being a part of the show. And if you'd like to be on the show, if you've got a topic you want to suggest, a guest, DM us. And if you want to be a production partner, DM producer Danny and I. Guess what? You know what? CLIC 5 live and in person is coming up. Danny's going to roll that banner down at the bottom. It's going to give you our website and also a promo code of CLIC 5. That'll save you about 20%. So we're less than 80 days out, so please register soon. I do believe our room block has sold out, but we might be able to pull a string or two and help you on that as well. So we will see you in October. We will see you at AhoaCon. Looking forward to meeting all of you in person, and thank you for joining us today. And remember, be kind, share your knowledge, now go be amazing.